All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're digging into a really fascinating white paper that offers up a radical new way to think about artificial intelligence, framing it not as a mind, but as a vast internal simulation.
I mean, you see it every day, right? AI systems are doing these incredible things, and it just makes you wonder, is it actually intelligent? Because on the surface, it sure seems like it is. Take coding, for example. It can spit out complex, flawless code in seconds. That's a job that used to take human experts ages.
Or how about art? You give it a simple phrase and bam, you get these stunning, photorealistic images. It's kind of crazy how real they look, blurring the line with reality itself.
And then there's writing. It drafts these compelling essays, even poetry, with a fluency that feels, well, it feels real, like it comes from genuine understanding. But here's the twist. The white paper we're looking at today says this is all just the very, very convincing illusion. So what's really going on under the hood?
Okay, so let's rewind a bit and start at the beginning. Because the thing is, according to this paper, the amazing stuff we're seeing today, it was never the plan. It was basically an accident, a side effect of just going bigger and bigger.
So check out this timeline. It all kicks off back in 2017 with this paper on what's called the transformer architecture. And its original job? Super specific, just making language translation more efficient. That's it. But then, researchers just kept scaling it up way beyond what it was ever designed for, and something totally wild happened. This ghost in the machine kind of just appeared, a system that could suddenly act human.
And that's the key takeaway here. The whole design was about efficiency for one little task. But what we ended up with was this system that's freakishly good at mimicking human language and behavior. Not because it understands anything, but just because its statistical structure is so massive. It's an artifact that just emerged.
Right, so this is where the paper introduces its big idea to explain all this. It's a framework they call the matrix.
Now, the paper describes the matrix as this totally synthetic internal world. And this part is crucial. It is not a model of our reality. Think of it more like a separate, simulated universe built on pure statistics, completely cut off from the real world that you and I live in.
So how does something like this even form? Well, the paper breaks it down into 3 steps. First, every single word or idea gets plotted as a point in this enormous, multi-dimensional space, kind of like a crazy star map, but for language. Step 2, as the model trains, all those points start connecting, forming these super complex shapes and structures. And then, the final step, once the training stops, that's it. The whole universe is sealed, it's a closed loop. It can't look outside to check if it's right or wrong. It can only operate on its own internal statistical rules.
So you gotta wonder, what are the rules inside this matrix? As you can probably guess, a world like that operates very, very differently from a human mind that actually interacts with reality.
And yeah, this matrix has some really weird properties. What it calls logic isn't really reasoning like we know it. It's more like finding the most probable path between 2 points in its own weird geometry. Its concept of truth, it's just based on how often it saw words together in its training data, not what's actually true out here. And maybe the wildest part is that it's fundamentally unstable, with no real sense of self or memory from one moment to the next.
And this quote just nails the paper's main point. What looks like intelligence to us, what feels like cognition, is really just an incredibly sophisticated game of mimicry. It's copying the structure of human language without any of the understanding. Okay, so if the matrix is just this static, closed-off world, how does it keep up the act? How does it seem so current and capable? Well, the paper's answer is pretty straightforward: brute force.
First off, it needs more and more and more raw computing power. We're talking an exponential increase.
Next, you have to keep feeding it just insane amounts of new data. If you don't, its little universe becomes outdated and stale almost instantly.
And the energy cost to power all of this? It's astronomical. The paper points out that these systems are now using as much power as entire countries. Just let that sink in.
So what you get is this really fragile system. The paper's argument is that if you stop the scaling, if you stop feeding the beast, the whole thing starts to break down. Its internal world degrades, and that illusion of intelligence just collapses. It can't sustain itself.
And that brings us to the final, really critical point the white paper makes. It's about the nature of this tech and what another path could even look like.
This chart, this really gets to the heart of it all. It's showing 2 possible futures for AI. Over on the right, you've got the matrix.
It's all about brute force prediction. It eats up massive amounts of energy. And look at that failure mode. Incoherent behavioral collapse. That's not good. But on the left, you see this other idea, a structural intelligence. It's based on self-reference, it's efficient, and when it messes up, you can actually trace the error and understand what went wrong. It's not just a total system meltdown.
So at the end of the day, the real danger here isn't some sci-fi rogue AI that wants to take over the world. The real danger is that we've built a system that nobody, not even its creators, fully understands or controls. It's a ghost in the machine, all right, but one born from statistics, not from a soul.
And that leaves us with one last, pretty provocative question from this paper. If the AI we have today really is a matrix, this resource-hungry simulation that we can't fully control, what kind of future are we actually building on top of it?